Let me tell you something nobody says out loud. Most people don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they're tired. But here's the truth most people miss. Tired doesn't mean you're losing. It might mean you've been stronger than you realize.
Who am I when the lights go low? Who am I when the world says no? Searching through my past, trying to free my...
Let me start with something that might surprise you. Most people quit their goals, not because they're incapable, but because they mistake exhaustion for failure. Wait, let me say that again. See, most people quit their goals not because they're incapable, but because they mistake exhaustion for failure. See, sometimes you're not losing, you're just tired. And in a world that glorifies nonstop hustle, we've been taught a dangerous lie. If you feel exhausted, it must mean you're falling behind. But that's not always the truth. Sometimes exhaustion is not a sign to quit. Sometimes it's a sign that you've been pushing, growing, stretching, and showing up in ways that require your energy. So today we're going to talk about something many people misunderstand. See, being tired doesn't mean you're weak, and it definitely doesn't mean you're done. But before we go any further, let me check in with you. How is your energy right now? Not your motivation, not your goals, but your energy. Are you feeling mentally drained this week? Maybe Monday started strong, but by the time Wednesday arrived, your focus started fading. Maybe you've been showing up for work, family, responsibilities, and expectations, and somewhere in the middle of it all, your own energy got pushed to the side. Maybe your body feels heavy. Maybe your patience feels shorter than usual. Maybe your mind feels cluttered. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. See, this midweek moment exists for people exactly like you. This is where you pause. This is where you reset. This is where you refuel your mind and steady your spirit so you can finish the week strong. So take a breath with me. Let the pressure drop for a moment and let's refocus. And here's the challenge most people face midweek. See, when fatigue shows up, we start questioning ourselves. We assume something must be wrong. We start telling ourselves things like, maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe this goal is too much for me. But fatigue doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes fatigue simply means you've been carrying responsibilities. Sometimes fatigue means you've been growing. So the real question isn't why am I tired? The real question is, what does this tiredness actually means? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about fatigue versus failure. See, one of the biggest mindset traps people fall into is confusing fatigue with defeat. See, fatigue says this: I need a moment, I need rest, I need clarity. But defeat says this: it's pointless, I can't do this anymore, I should stop trying. See, those are two very different things. But when you're exhausted, your mind can blur the difference. You start interpreting temporary tiredness as permanent inabilities. And that's when people walk away from things that were actually working. Think about how many breakthroughs almost didn't happen because someone quit during a tired moment. Not because they lacked potential, not because they lacked purpose, but because they were exhausted and misread that exhaustion as failure. See, fatigue is physical, defeat is psychological. Fatigue is temporary, defeat becomes permanent only when you accept it. And the truth is, when you're growing, fatigue is inevitable because growth requires effort. Effort requires energy, and energy eventually needs replenishment. So being tired does not mean you're failing. It simply means you're human. Now let's just pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, am I tired or am I truly done? Have I lost belief in the goal or have I just been pushing myself without rest? Ask yourself, is my exhaustion coming from growth or from carrying too much at once? Because the answer to that question matters. Because if you're truly done, that requires one kind of decision. But if you're simply tired, then the solution isn't quitting, it's replenishing. So let me explain something for clarity. So when I say if you're truly done, that requires one kind of decision. But if you're simply tired, the solution isn't quitting, it's replenishing. What I'm talking about is the difference between direction and energy. Sometimes people think something is wrong with the path they're on, when in reality, the problem isn't the path, it's the level of energy they have left to walk it. See, being truly done usually means something deeper has shifted. It means the season has changed, the purpose is no longer aligned, or the direction you're moving in no longer reflects who you are becoming. See, that kind of moment requires honest reflection and intentional decision making. See, it's not about frustration in the moment, it's about recognizing that a chapter of life has reached its natural conclusion. But being tired is different. See, tiredness doesn't mean the mission has expired. Tiredness doesn't mean that the goal has lost its value. Tiredness doesn't mean you've reached the end. It simply means your mind, body, or spirit has been exerting effort for a sustained period of time. And effort requires recovery. Sit on that for a second. So think about it like this. If someone runs 10 miles and their legs start shaking, we wouldn't tell them they're not capable of running anymore. We would recognize that their body has used energy and needs rest to rebuild. See, your emotional and mental energy works the same way. When you've been thinking deeply, working hard, solving problems, showing up for responsibilities, or pushing yourself to grow, it is natural to reach a point where your internal reserves run low. See, that moment is not a signal to abandon everything. It's a signal to replenish. And replenishing means restoring what effort has depleted. It means giving your mind space to breathe again. It means allowing your body and spirit to recover so you can move forward with clarity instead of exhaustion. Because when people quit in moments of fatigue, they often walk away from things that still matters to them. Not because the purpose disappeared, but because the energy temporarily did. But how many know that energy can be restored, perspectives can be refreshed, and strength can return? So, the real question to ask yourself when you feel overwhelmed is not automatically, should I quit? The better question is, do I need to change directions? Or do I simply need to restore my strength? Because if the purpose still matters to you, if the goal still resonates with your heart, if the vision still makes sense when your mind is calm, then the solution isn't walking away. Let me say that again. Because if the purpose still matters to you, if the goal still resonates with your heart, if the vision still makes sense when your mind is calm, then the solution isn't walking away. The solution is replenishing what has been poured out so you can keep going with renewed clarity and strength. So here's the shift I want you to make today. This is where we reframe, we change our way of thinking. I want you to get this and hear this. Rest is not weakness. Rest is strategy. Think about any high performance system in the world. Athletes train hard and then they recover. Muscles grow during recovery. Your mind works the same way. Clarity comes during rest. Creativity returns during rest. Strength rebuilds during rest. And there's another part of replenishing that we often overlook. See, rest is not just physical. Rest is spiritual. Because when you allow yourself to pause, when you step back from the constant pushing and striving, something powerful begins to happen behind the scenes. See, while you're resting, God is working. See, while your body is restoring, God is renewing. See, while your mind is quieting, God is rebuilding. See, sometimes we think progress only happens when we are moving, producing, achieving, and doing more. But many of the most important transformations in our lives happen during the moment when we step back and trust God to move on our behalf. See, while you're resting, God is restoring what exhaustion tried to take from you. He's renewing your strength where you felt drained. He's reviving the parts of your spirit that felt dim. He's igniting the fire of passion inside of you so it burns stronger than before. See, what once felt depleted begins to refill. What once felt unclear begins to sharpen, and what once felt heavy begins to lighten. And something even deeper begins to happen. See, God begins to build wisdom through the experience you just walked through. He begins to strengthen your character. He begins to refine your perspectives. He begins preparing you for the next level of responsibility, growth, and purpose. So when you rest, you're not falling behind. You're being renewed. You're being restored. You're being strengthened. You're being prepared. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your future is to trust God enough to pause. And when you rise again after that rest, you don't just return with energy. You return wiser, stronger, and better than before. But when we deny ourselves rest, we create unnecessary pressure. We keep pushing while depleted, and eventually exhaustion turns into discouragement. But when you intentionally pause, reset, and recharge, you protect your progress. So here's your midweek reminder. You are not weak because you're tired. You are not falling apart because you need a moment. You are someone who has been showing up, showing up for responsibilities, showing up for commitments, showing up for growth. And that takes energy. So instead of criticizing yourself for feeling tired, respect the effort you've already given. Recharge your focus, refill your perspective, reset your energy, and then rise again, because tired people still wins. Tired people still grow. Tired people still finish strong. Just say this with me and tell yourself, my fatigue does not define me. My exhaustion does not erase my progress. I honor the work that I have done. I respect the effort I have given. Rest strengthens me. Reflections sharpens me. Renewal prepares me. I am not quitting. I am refueling. And I will continue forward stronger than before. So in my final closing, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do midweek isn't pushing harder. It's restoring your energy so your purpose can continue, so your purpose can refocus, so your purpose can recharge, and so your purpose can rise. Because tired doesn't mean weak, and your journey isn't finished. So before we move forward, I want you to pause for just a moment. Take a breath. Wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, this next part is for you. Let's speak life over ourselves out loud if you can. Because what we say in this moment has the power to shift how we walk into the rest of our day. Let's begin with our affirmation. I am not defined by my past or limited by my mistakes. I am growing, learning, and becoming who I was created to be. I have values beyond titles, roles, and expectations. I choose honesty over fear and growth over comfort. I am allowed to change, heal, and evolve. I walk with purpose, clarity, and courage. I am becoming more aligned with my true self every day. And who I am is enough. So as we close today's episode, I want to thank you for taking this time for yourself. If something you heard inspired you, challenged you, or made you pause and reflect, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who may need it. Invite them into the conversation. See, this podcast grows when we grow together. I cannot do this without you. See, we grow together through shared stories, honest reflections, and real connections. See, every listen, every share, every conversation helps create a community rooted in purpose, rooted in love, rooted in faith, rooted in hope, trust, and truth. So until next time, keep reflecting, keep becoming, and remember, you matter. This is the Who Am I podcast, and let's walk this journey together.
Who am I? Yeah, I'm more than the pain, more than the pride. Who am I? Who am I? Walking in purpose, no mask, no disguise. This is my voice, my rise, my life. Welcome to Who Am I?